we interview entrepreneurs, community builders, and world changers. And today, I really have a community builder. I really have a world changer. And that's Dwayne Shaw, aka Dr. Shaw, aka Shawshank, the ghost producer. This man is a legend in Greensboro. He is a mentor of mine. He's he's a man of integrity. He's a man of business, and he's someone who really inspires thousands of people. Really, in my opinion. So I want to first thank you for coming on the show, Dr. Show.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you had an event August 22nd last week. It was an incredible show. We had a lot of great youth show up. Giovanni Shaw. We had Trayvon Rashad. We had Beats by JT. And we had DJ Dylan Jam.
Yes.
What led you to have this? And this event specifically, right? It was created for the youth, by the youth. What led you to have the youth lead this event, really? Because you've had 6 annual Heads Up for Our Youth Foundation events.
Right. So, this is just where it grew to. It was the original vision was just to do things for the children based on the needs that we saw, because we run a barbershop. So being in the barbershop, you get a chance to see a lot of different situations. You get to know the families and the family structure. You get to learn, meet a lot of kids and see what they're into. And a lot of the kids were into basketball. And, had sisters that were into cheer, and some kids were into music. So, we just decided to do something and give back, to them. We saw a lot of single parents, a lot of single parents just, trying to raise children on their own. A lot of females wanted to bring their sons into the shop just so that they could see positive role models, positive images of black men. So we took that serious and just decided to continue to give back, find other unique ways to affect the community. And that's where the back to school rally came, trying to give back to the less fortunate in mass, Yeah.
Absolutely. What led you to start your journey in community building? Because you've done it not just for Heads Up, but you've done it for years throughout since your whole professional career. What led you to start investing back into your community?
Probably, just trying to offset all the negativity, that we're surrounded by. It's always been in me because some people gave back to me. A lot of people showed interest in me they wasn't my relatives. My family did support me. However, it means a little bit more sometimes when a stranger tells you that you have potential or they see something special in you. So that started to happen to me a lot throughout my life. And as I got older and started to reflect, I realized that it had a tremendous impact. And it had a lot of power. I don't know if they knew what they were doing or how much power it had, but I thought that I wanted to try to do the same thing, try to reinforce some of the messages and some of the lessons that parents were trying to give their children. By me being in the music industry, I thought that, my voice would have some weight. And they would listen to me. So I just decided to just double down on some of the things that the parents were trying to teach the children and finding my unique way to speak to them and meet them where they're at.
How has your experience in investing in the community changed from the beginning of where you started to now? How has it evolved and grown?
It's gotten a whole lot more serious. Just because, before when I was young, it was an idea, and yes, we focused on athletics and literacy and things of that. But as time went on, it started to get more concentrated, meaning like certain things didn't fly anymore. Specifically like the type of music that we were playing at some events. Just the way we dressed, a lot of different things just had to evolve, meaning like, we had to be aware that people could be watching us at any time. So we had to change so that we can represent what we spoke about and, try to be the change that we want to see.
From your perspective, and like you said, the music, from your perspective, how has music, specifically hip hop, benefited from a positive as well as from a negative perspective, our community? From your perspective, how has it helped our community? How has it hurt our community?
So I feel like it helps our community because, you know, in our community we don't really take mental health serious. You know, we don't have outlets, trusted outlets, where we can actually express ourselves and tell people our experience. But through music, you hear about people's realities. You know, a lot of people say it's violent and, you know, it's talking about this and that and the other. But when that's what you're surrounded by, that's what you're going to write about. That's what you're going to talk about. You know, so as a therapeutic tool, you know, it's helped a lot. You know, helped a lot of people get some things off their chest, give people the opportunity to just speak about their realities. You know, so it's been helpful that way, and it's been bad because in business you can find, in marketing you can find ways to use these messages to push other agendas to help you sell product. You know, and sometimes we're not thinking about that. You know, we just thinking about the music, but there's a whole nother side, and it's the business. So that's the music business. A lot of times we're on the talent side, but we're not on the business side. So being in the marketing and branding and stuff like that, I can actually see how, you know, what we speak about in a therapeutic sense, that one person is being therapeutic, you know, using it for a therapeutic method, but the labels or the corporations are using it to actually sell negative things, you know, death, you know, poverty. You know, people don't understand about the power in your words, right? So that's the negative side of it that I see. The fact that we have a lot of power, our voices are strong, you know, our culture is strong, and when it's used in a negative way, it can have a reach that you can't measure.
That's deep. Preach, man. There's two things that I thought about when you were going through it, and it was the power of words as well as mental health, and then you talked about business. But I want to go into business and mental health. The barbershop, right? It means something to the black community. It means something to black men. In a lot of ways, the barbershop is a space. It's really a mental health space in a lot of respects. And it guides so many young men. You know, there are more young men, in my opinion, who are more influenced by their barber than in a lot of ways their preacher.
Right.
You know, so talk about the influence that a barber has on a community, and just from your personal experience, how has that helped young men become men?
So the barbershop, you know, is a pillar of the community. You know, very similar to the church. However, you know, our rules are lax, meaning like we don't have as many rules in the barbershop setting as you would in the church, and you know, so people can actually let loose and talk how they need to talk and express themselves how they need to express themselves. And barbering itself is a holistic skill, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, my moniker in the barber game is Dr. Shaw, and I know some people wondered, you know, why you call yourself Dr. Shaw, but if you do the history, do the knowledge on barbering, you'll find out that we were considered the first barber surgeons, you know, in history, you know. So we did small surgeries like bloodletting, maybe taking out teeth and stuff like that, you know, maybe bandaging up, you know, somebody's wound or something like that, you know. So that's what the red, white, and the blue in the barber pole stands for. So the blood, the bandages, and the veins. So, and then, you know, when we had to go through the whole teaching and information through school, we had to learn all the muscles in the face. You know, so we know about the skin, we know about the epidermis, we know about hair follicles and all of that. So, you know, it's nothing to take light.
It's a science.
It's a science, true science, and art. So it's where science, art, history all combines itself, and then it's therapeutic, you know.
Yep.
So I get an opportunity to, you know, perform magic on someone's hair, perform surgery on someone's hair, and make them look better, make them feel better, and at the same time communicate with them. You know, and I know this, consciously knowing this. So when I'm talking to my clients, I'm really, like today I talked to a young man about credit. I know he just recently got a job, you know, and I asked him what he knew about credit. You know, he said he didn't know nothing about credit. So I told him an app to download, and I said, now for moving forward, our conversation is going to be about credit. So I gave him a website that he needed to look at. He needed to learn X amount of stuff. He needs to come back and be able to communicate with me about credit. What is credit? How do you rate credit? What's a good score? What's a bad score? You get what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I get a chance to do all kind of wild case studies.
That's amazing. Talk about the business side, especially from the Heads Up for Our Youth space, because I saw the difference and I've seen the growth of Heads Up for Our Youth Foundation, not just from an athletic side, but also from a business side, a marketing side. Talk about how you're using your community investment skills to teach the young people, not just, athletics, but also the business side. Like you talked about earlier, the teaching that young man credit. Talk about what you're teaching the youth and really their responses to you teaching them.
Well, I try to teach the youth that, something that I learned in business, a lot of people say that our community, we don't support each other. And my thing is this: create a product that people want, right? And then another thing that you have to do is, once you do that, you have to raise the bar, right? So you have to set the bar high. And when you set the bar high, it could get more expensive. If you do something in an impoverished area, the rent might be cheaper, right? But let's say if you want to give your people the experience of middle class or upscale, because that's us too. We like nice things. We like nice environments. That's us.
Absolutely.
We like to get fly. We like to be clean.
I mean, look at you right now. This is fly.
I mean, I appreciate it, bro. But that's us. That's our culture. So, when you want to up your game and you want to put your business in a commercial area, next to FedEx, next to the big Fortune 500 brands, that's going to be expensive. So it may be harder to maintain just doing straight business. So for us, we got to try a little bit harder. You got to let people know where your heart is. Okay, so here's this small time company, Heads Up, next door to Wingstop, FedEx, Jimmy John's. Why? How do they last? How do they sustain themselves? Well, it's because we put our footprint in the community. And people don't understand that. What does that mean? Meaning that, we give back. We gave back from the beginning. When we had nothing, we gave what we could, right?
Yeah.
And through that, people started to switch to us as an option. It's more than a haircut now.
Absolutely.
My child needs to see the growth of this company. When they pay us a certain amount of money for haircuts and services, they look around, they see the growth in the shop. They see the environment being taken care of, for them, to give them the best experience possible, right? So that's what we have to learn in our community is, don't be afraid to raise the bar. There's a cost that's going to come with it, but you can offset that cost by giving back, which sounds really, really weird. How can you give something that you don't have? But you do have it. You do have love for your people. You do have resources. And what you do is you bring those people together, you bring those resources together, and at that point you put a plan together and keep giving in mind. That needs to be your thought process. It's all about giving back. You give people what they want, you end up getting what you want.
Agreed. I'll give you guys a perfect example. When I was in college, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Shah, and I was folding clothes, and I was what else was I doing? I was doing some other stuff too.
Right, taking notes, all kinds.
Taking
of
notes.
Right.
We did a grant.
Yeah.
I think we worked on a grant. He invested in me, and he's actually the blueprint, really, of why I've wanted to. If you follow me, you know that I try to bring on other young men to, whether they film, whether they are speaking at a boxing event, whether they're commentating at a boxing event. The blueprint of why I'm trying to do that is because of this man right here who did the same thing for me. I want to be able to do the same thing for young brothers and young sisters, just like he did for this young brother right here. And so I want to appreciate you for that. And I've seen you do it with J Money 336. I forgot the brother's first and last name. My apologies.
No worries. Yeah, Justin Lassane.
Justin, like he had an event, Vibe. I went to that event and I've seen Dwayne Shaw do the work. I've seen him pour into people. And so I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you. And we want to do our best to really not just, we want to give back to other people, but we also want to give back to you. You know what I mean? So I just want to salute you and thank you for the work you've done.
Thank you, man. That's like energy, giving back, and it's rhetorical, like, it has to be reciprocated because, and like for you, you're building your portfolio of people that you helped along the way. And I don't know how many people have told you thank you, but if you keep doing what you're doing over time, it's going to start getting momentum of people telling you, how much you meant to them. If it wasn't for you, you're going to start hearing that because I'm starting to hear it now, Took a while, but I'm starting to hear it more and more now, and I'm very thankful. And what it does is it keeps me straight because nobody's perfect, right?
No.
So when I hear it, when I leave out of here today, I got to continue on that path because somebody just told me, somebody just reminded me that, I did something that helped them and inspired them. So I want to inspire more people.
Absolutely. And you will continue to do that. You will continue. Thank you, Dr. Shaw. I gotta have him on again. We gotta talk shop here. But I appreciate you, Dr. Shaw. This was dope. God bless you, my brother.
Hey, man, thank you so much, man. God bless you. I appreciate you, okay?
Absolutely, brother. That's all for the conversation with Tim McKain. Peace, y'all.